What's happening?
How's everyone doing?
Fantastic. Oh, brother. Give me some good news, man. Like what do we happen, man? We're a week into the second half of the year, so heading down the path, coming out of a long holiday weekend for a lot of folks. So
Yeah,
like what's
I
happening?
think I think that's it. The importance of taking you call them the free days, right? Taking the time off to rest and recover and rejuvenate. We I think a lot of times in our business we look at halfway through the year as like the doom and gloom, but there's still a lot of time left into this year. And I think for us the thing that we're most excited about is some of the new opportunities that we're kind of focusing on from the seller standpoint. I know we've spoke about that a handful of times here on this call, but a lot has happened in the first half, and a lot can happen in the second half of this year, and we'll see how things shake out. We're getting closer to that August 17th date, which from an agent standpoint, it's like, can it just be here already? Like, I wish they never would have just pushed it back. Like,
Yeah.
Stop teasing us with the changes, because right now a lot of I know just with Ohio and our brokers, and just trying to figure out like how do we maneuver over these next 40-ish days. We kind of have to act as if August 17th is here, but not everything is completely set in stone yet as far as some of the paperwork and things that we need to do. So I'm excited about that. I think that creates a couple more opportunities for the true professionals in our industry. And I think it's going to cause some problems for the amateurs, and when I say
Right.
amateurs, the people that, just aren't committed. There's nothing wrong with selling, 1 to 5 homes a year. There's nothing wrong with that. But with some of these changes and things, I'm afraid that some of those agents aren't necessarily dialed in with what needs to happen. And I feel like we will go through this period of time where agents' commissions are going to be on the line, and people will be working for free. Now they'll learn, that'll be the fastest way to learn, right?
Yeah.
When you don't get paid out. But I'm excited for that opportunity. We're doing a lot of revamping listing process, revamping listing presentations. Same thing on the buy side, revamping our buyer consultation, revamping our buyer value adds, which we'll talk about next week. So with some of this change comes great opportunity, and I think that's what we're most excited for moving forward the second half of this year.
Yeah, I think you're so spot on, right? I think it's developing that skill set. However, we want to be able to just have it to be able to handle it. But I think the biggest thing though is, where's the real opportunity? To me, the real opportunity is the listing side. And so, all in on the listing process, listing offer, listing activity. And I think what will happen is that there's going to be a lot of fumbling on the buy side, and then buyers agents like, can I show it to you? Can I not show it to you? You don't want to sign something you don't want to meet because they don't have a value, or you don't know how to articulate their value. So they'll be like, screw it, they're going to call the listing agent. Yep. And so I think getting really good as a listing agent or a company that handles, the listing side of things, to how do we handle those direct, outreach to us about a particular listing? Focusing on that, right? How do we handle that part of the process? And I think that's, to be able to focus on conversion and being able to jump. So I think what we'll see, while there's a lot of trying to figure things out, but I think there's also going to be a lot of things on the buy side where people just don't even roll with what's supposed to happen. And they're going to just do whatever until they get caught.
Yeah.
Like, think about human behavior. Like, compensation drives behavior. Yeah. They have an opportunity and they need a check. They're not going to tell, I can't show you that property. I need that check. I need you to buy that house more than you want to buy that house. And I think that's, just understanding human behavior, and just keeps coming back. Well, who's going to police it? How are they going to police it?
Yeah.
And, when are they going to pick up on it? Right. So I think we just got to be well aware of that. But I think whatever friction buyers find on the buy side, calling or reaching out to an agent, they're just going to give up and directly call the listing agent.
Yeah. Well, I think, with some of that, and I know that this isn't necessarily what this call's for, but, it does tie into always needing to be lead generation. We'll get into the fast track, but, I think the policing will be hard But it's also even harder to go back to one of your clients after you get them into contract and say, oh, hey, sign this document that says my compensation is to be X. And also, I may need you to cover some of that, right? I think that is, and so when agents start having to work for less than what they believe they're going to be making or for free, because I don't know if it's a national thing or a state thing. And like, this is one of those things we're in the gray area. I know our brokers here in Ohio have said, if you do not have that buyer agreement dated prior to you going into contract, you will not get a commission.
Yeah. Well, then they'll backdate it prior to.
Yeah. But then you got to have that conversation with that buyer, right? And you have to, basically say, hey, I screwed up. I didn't get this form signed and this document says you owe me X%. And the sellers are only willing to cover X, but we're already in contract. So I'm going to need you to cover the difference.
They're not going to. Yeah.
Or they'll say, oh, I'll only accept whatever the sellers, and now they'll start working for less.
Yes.
Right. And so, I think you'll have some of that, which hopefully will correct itself for the more positive and the better of our industry, and either weed those people out because they just are afraid to have the upfront consultations, or eventually they'll learn their lesson because they missed out on, a couple thousands of dollars. And we'll start doing those consultations up front.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting until, it gets flushed out. Who knows how long that's going to take? Could take, year and a half, right? To where it's really, really streamlined out. And you go through a cycle of agents and not able to kind of figure it out, and they don't renew their dues. So I think you're going to see a little bit of that. But who's going to probably have the advantage is going to be new agents coming into the business that don't know any different, and this is all they know. And we've seen that time and time and time again, that agents don't have any bad habits when they come in and they go through the training. Hey, this is the way you do it, and they just do it. They don't know any different. And so to me, newer agents getting into the business are going to have an advantage of following the process and doing it the right way. Yeah. So I think that's a big understanding and a get. And, the dinosaurs that don't want to evolve, it's the irrelevancy, right? They're going to work themselves out of the industry. So
Well, I asked this question to a couple agents the other day. Do you believe that there's going to be more off-market deals being done now? Mm-hmm. And the power of you having relationships with other agents. I think about this. This is one of the takeaways I learned early in my career from Joshua Smith. I used to watch his videos on YouTube all the time. And he said he built his business with open houses, and he prospected real estate agents like he prospected for clients because he needed the open house opportunities. Right. And that's I'm doing an off market deal right now that if it did hit the market, probably is worth 25 grand more than what we're in contract for. So now you think about brokerages and clear cooperation and small teams versus big teams and small brokerages and independent brokerages against big brokerages, who has the listing inventory of the off markets, right? It's the team selling the most houses and the brokerages that have the most agents.
Right.
Right. And so, when I can sit here and say, hey, I have access to, 80,000+ homes or agents, with EXP, or I can say, hey, I'm on a team of 44 agents. I always have a list of properties coming down the pipeline that I know about. Not saying they're going to work for you and that I guarantee I'm going to find you an off market deal, but and then that person may interview another agent that says, oh, I'm a team of one or a team of two, and I'm at an independent brokerage with 10 agents. Those are two different things.
Sure.
And I think, could there be more off-market deals done because of this? I don't know. I don't know if that's a yes or a no, but I can tell you when I sit down with my buyers, I'm going to be talking about it and how I have saved clients money doing it this way. And this is why you should work with me instead of talking to someone else.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think, no, man, I think there will be. And I think that's an advantage. That's going to be a great hook that you guys are going to be able to utilize, especially the larger teams and companies like yourself. It's like, hey, we have a massive list of off-market properties that we've identified that, we're able to get you access to that are not on the MLS that nobody even knows about. I think the best thing though, because we have so many, is that we just need to really sit down and determine, your home buying strategy, right? Get them right in, give them a hook of a reason why they would want to get together to have that conversation, because it's like, I can't send you all of them. I have got to be able to identify based upon your needs and wants analysis, what your real estate goals are, what you guys are looking for in your home ownership. Let's have that conversation. And then I can identify not only the properties, off market, but the exact properties on market that would fit that criteria.
And so, whoever needs to hear this, this was a big miss for me. This would have been my first 7 years in the business. I did not care to have relationships with other real estate agents in my market. Yeah. I literally just had a call right before this where I know of a house that's coming on the market with potentially about $200,000 worth of equity. Now it needs probably $100,000 worth of work, right? But if you don't think that that's value of knowing that information just because I have a phone call with someone, I'm asking them, hey, do you know of anything coming down the line, that you might be listing here soon that you can talk about? Like, I'm going to be hitting up my investors as soon as we're done with this call and saying, hey, I might have something for you, right?
Yeah.
That may work. And are you interested? I'll get you first crack at it because I know this other agent, right? And so, those are the things that as agents, if you're struggling with, or scared about this is the exciting part, because guess what? Maybe my fee goes up because I'm putting a deal in front of someone that they didn't know about.
100% it is. You have the opportunity to do that, right? In the absence of value, people question price, and you're bringing them value, and your compensation can align accordingly. I think the other thing too, like what you were talking about, you're talking about off market. I think and I've heard this from several agents, especially agents that have a strong market share in a maybe a little bit smaller market, is building that off market agent list to be able to market their properties to. And say, hey, we're going to market with this. We're only offering 1%. However, we really love working with you guys. You always bring great qualified buyers. You're not a hassle to work with. You get things across the finish line. You vet everything out. Your clients, the financing, everything's on point. There's no issues. If you guys bring us a buyer, we'll pay you $3. I think that's what's going to happen. I think there's going to be behind the scenes deals working. Why not? And
right.
And the reality is, like, maybe you can or you cannot do that. The reality is like, I'm just trying to get the client the most amount of money, and I'm marketing this property to the most amount of buyers, supply and demand. And I'm going to, and it's no different than like with ISAs on our team, right? Supposed to be on a round robin. However, if my compensation's tied to you closing that deal, I'm not giving it to this person over here that doesn't follow through, that can't get things across the finish line. I'm putting it in the hands of somebody that I know can get this deal done.
Yep.
And it's just compensation drives behavior. And so I think that's just one of the things that we've really got to we've really got to understand. And so it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be really, really interesting. And the biggest thing, like what we were saying, is like, who's going to police it? Like, who's really going to police it?
Yeah. We'll see. It'll be fun.
So transition this into kind of where we're at, heading into kind of the focus of today's conversation around the fast track of our business. I know last week we talked about the launch or relaunch. Perfect time heading into the second half of the year, reevaluating what has happened. What do we need to stop doing, start doing, keep doing? Where are our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? Where's the biggest constraint, bottleneck in our business? We've got the right strategy because we're solving that problem. We know what we need to do, commit to on a weekly basis, but what do we need to execute, right? Yeah. Where does the real execution happen? And it happens every day. And, you look at the fast track, where are you seeing, within the fast track itself, where our energy and our focus, our activities, the effort metric needs to be given, right? Obviously on the things within our control, that's what fast track's all about, right? I'm doing the things within my control that don't cost any money. Like, where do I need to double, triple down on heading into the second half?
The way that we look at it is, we like to model success, right? Why do people love and hate companies like Zillow or Facebook or Apple, right? It's because they have all the data, right? And they got big because of the data. And so if you just look at the daily success plan within the fast track, which is, your daily plan of what you should be doing every single day to do prospecting, reach outs, and lead generation, I think the one thing that a lot of us agents miss out on are the handwritten notes and gathering of one address, especially with your SOI, right? With your sphere of influence, which is one of the lists that we talk about, right? Our job as agents are to always build the top of the funnel, right? Yeah, the closings are great, right? Showing homes are great. But if we're not always thinking about how do I create more opportunities, more leads, more, potential clients, all of those things, the bottom of the funnel is never going to happen or will be inconsistent. And so the handwritten note and the gathering of one address, that kind of completes the whole data set that you need, right? You already have their number probably. You may have their email, or maybe you got both. You already have their name. The only thing that's missing is their personal residence. And so I think if you can complete the data for everyone in your SOI on the second half of the year, now you have multiple ways to actually reach out to them. I shared this story actually earlier. I still have the handwritten note from the restaurant in Charleston, South Carolina, from when I went there for my birthday in March. It's still sitting on my refrigerator. They sent it to me a month later. They mentioned something within the handwritten note that was brought up to the waiter in conversation, right? And I have shared that story no less than 20 times.
Yeah. How powerful is that?
And, as real estate agents, they're getting texts all the time. They're getting emails all the time. They're getting phone calls all the time. They're getting junk mail, spam sales, junk mail all of the time. For example, I sent a text message out yesterday to a seller lead. I have her address. Personal, not even through the CRM, from myself. She instantly says, stop, right? I didn't reply back yet, but I'm like, let me just do a handwritten note. That will be completely different. She probably just thinks that I'm just some salesperson going through a list of 1,000 names, right? Doesn't want to be bothered. And naturally, as humans, we're in that mode right now because we're getting bombarded every single way that she just says stop. But what would happen if I actually sent a handwritten note, or I sent a video text message next to show her that I'm actually real, I'm genuine, I'm laid back, I'm not, here to offer 50% of the value of her home or anything along those lines. I'm here to simply help based off of an action that she took on one of our CRMs. And then the other thing I would think about, which is always, always, always key to what we do, is, the face-to-face appointments, right? Hey, if you're not on pace for what your goals were, from the first half, and you guys last week did the business audit where you look to see where deals have come from. And, John, you mentioned start, stop, and keep doing. If nothing else matters the second half of this year, is how many face-to-face appointments did you go on? Yeah. How many did you set? Because I believe you can control setting the appointment, the confirming of the appointment and them showing up or whatever. Obviously there's going to be a conversion percentage there for each and every one of us. But if your just whole mindset was the second half of this year is only face-to-face appointments, you're going to be doing more business. Period. Simple. Right? So, what's that metric for you? How many face-to-face appointments do you need to go on to hit your goals?
That could be your North Star metric too, right? So that's the one that everything revolves around. I think you might have a secondary that's leading that, right? If I'm not getting face-to-face, it could be, okay, well, my North Star metric is face-to-face. That's all I care about, getting face-to-face, face-to-face to face-to-face. But if I'm struggling to get face-to-face, what is it, right? Where am I off in my conversion? And to start down the train, right? So it's like down the track, it's like, okay, well, what is required to get face-to-face? Well, I need to set an appointment. Well, what do I got to do to set an appointment? I need to have a conversation. So is it setting appointments? is my secondary? Is it my conversations? Probably conversations. So if I'm not having enough conversations, we'll go, how many conversations do I need to have? Or I am having conversations, but I'm not able to set appointments. Well, then my skill set is off, right?
Right.
And then it's like, okay, well, if I can improve on that, it's like, well, I'm just not having enough conversation. Well, is it an effort? Is it an effort problem? Is it like, well, now I'm getting into the excuse bucket of, well, I don't have enough leads. Okay, well, how come you don't have enough leads? And what are you doing to create engagement? Talk about real estate to be able to do that. Like where are the leads? Like where are they? And so exhausting anything and everything that you can. So I like that North Star metric of face to face because everything revolves face to face.
Yeah.
And it can be face to face via technology, or it can be actually knee to knee. But we got to get face to face so we can have a consultative conversation. I can find out what it is you're trying to accomplish. I can talk about our process and how we can help you achieve it. And then we can move forward.
Yeah.
And so if I'm not getting face to face, which needs to be the North Star, then it's like, okay, well, what's happening? And what I would say is I'm not having enough conversations. And if I'm not having enough conversations, is my effort in check? Is my my data in check? Right. Yep. So I think those are the things that you want to look at.
I'm curious. Do you believe not having enough leads? I'll use leads. We all probably have our own definition of what that is.
Yeah.
I believe in today's world, that's an excuse.
It very much is. So I think it's focus on number of new contacts that we could add to the database every day. Yeah. And so you can put offers in front of them. You can offer them something. You can, there's likely to move seller data, right? Reach out to those people, create a connection, and then try to have a conversation. If not, you have a data point. They're likely to move. What are all the things, land, air, and sea, that we could do to be able to get to that point? I think it's having a clear understanding. Follow Hormozzi's core 4, follow your lead getters, and then look at what events can I be doing. That's the other, to me, is the added component to Hormozzi's core 4 and lead getters. But I would start with my database. I would really have that segmented out and communicating and staying top of mind. Throwing offers. I would crush social. I think running as much top of mind, talking head, they ask, you answer, being able to layer in cold outreach, motivated seller data, likely to move seller data. Some markets expireds for sell by owners, type of things, for absentee owner, just anything that's likely to move seller data, motivated seller data.
Yeah.
And then if I'm running ads, man, I'm if I'm in a market that has new construction, I'm running new construction ads.
Yeah.
Period. And so going that route, and then, working your database and the people that love you, being able to create advocates and move them to the next step of the customer journey, which is promoters. Then I would have my affiliates and vendors incentivized to send people my way. And then events. And events, in my mind, in real estate are open houses, buyer seller seminars, broker opens, anything like that I could do to create an event. And, I like the buyer and seller seminars. And the reason that I would try to do it live and record it, now you kind of have a webinar. Now you can kind of create a webinar on demand with a call to action. Yep. So it's just really thinking about, really running through the customer journey, but also paying attention to the traffic side of things and moving them from awareness to consideration, and then helping them make a decision. But there's more than enough leads out there. It's just, we're not thinking about it the right way.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I like Hormozzi's definition. Leads are just anyone you can reach out to. Engaged leads is what you really want. Right. So like, if you think about, and I bring this up because one of my coaching clients, and I forget how I got the connection. I don't know I forget who or where it came from, but there's an agent looking somewhere in Ohio for an agent to list a dog kennel for sale. And I got connected with this agent, and it ended up being about an hour and a half away from my market. And I'm like, not interested in commercial, and I'm definitely not driving an hour and a half to try to figure it out. So I connected with one of my coaching clients that is interested in doing that kind of stuff. And he is now, just this year alone, he just went on his 8th listing appointment to sell dog kennels across the whole state of Ohio. Average sales price somewhere between 700 to $1 million in volume. And the original agent that I got connected with for him, that I passed off to him, simply has a Facebook group that is dedicated to dog kennel owners across the country. And so I think she's licensed out in California. And I was talking to my coaching client, and he said, I believe she's doing 8 to 10 referrals a month. And she just has this database of dog kennel owners. And now she's just matching them up for agents in every state and just collecting, right? Not even counting her own personal business. So like when you think about today's world with technology and the daily success plan and the whole point of Fast Track and the daily success plan was to give you a GPS of what to focus on every single day, right? There's 2 big questions that agents struggle with in our industry. And that's, where is my business going to come from? Which we should be solving for under the real estate launch, right? And then, when am I going to get paid? And so when am I going to get paid? If we follow the daily success plan, that will start to become more consistent. Your paychecks will become more consistent. So, I was just thinking of like, could you go? Is there something that you're passionate about that you can create a Facebook group, a community? It doesn't even have to be, Facebook, a community following, right? To where you're connecting with like-minded people around this one interest, hobby, whatever the case may be. And maybe you have 100 people in there. Well, those are 100 leads. They're not maybe engaged leads in real estate yet. But your job then is to get them to know you, like you, and trust that you're the expert when it comes to real estate. You're just connecting on this other thing.
Yeah.
Where now you're generating more opportunities, whether that's in your market or even outside of your market. So the Fast Track, right, it's to help you take away a lot of the guesswork of what even to focus on when it comes to lead generation and prospecting. Because leads are out there. I could open up my phone right now. I have 1,000 contacts. I have 5,000 followers on Facebook, right? I have X number of followers on Instagram. Those are all leads.
Yeah, those are people that you can't. So I love this distinction. What you were just talking about. You mentioned those are people you can reach out to.
Yep.
I think you said now getting to engaged leads. So in my mind, anybody that's kind of engaging, you look at by definition on the customer journey, what they say about engaged leads is that they say an engaged lead is just creating any type of it's funny, I got it right here, so let me see. So what they're saying on the customer journey is an engaged lead. So Webster defines engagement as emotional involvement or commitment. It's about being in gear with someone, building or deepening a relationship with them. Digital marketer, this stage begins immediately after your first touch or interaction with the prospect and continues through their entire experience with your brand. It's an ongoing conversation you have with them in multiple channels: blog, online community, email, customer support, etc. And so that's get them to engage. So an engaged opportunity. And then where I think after you get them engaged, you get them to subscribe to something that leads to where you can convert them to now. I would think then the next stage is that MQL, right? Which would be a market qualified lead, meaning they have real motivation and they can, right? They can buy. And I've seen some pretty cool, I had a great Brian Colquitt. Remember, I don't know if you remember Brian from Kitchen Table. And Brian, said, it's about telling them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. Not everybody's a real buyer in this market.
Nope.
And so that would be, okay, well, what is a market qualified lead in today's market? And just because they're not an MQL now, we can keep them engaged until they can become an MQL.
Right.
So we got leads, which we can reach out to. We haven't reached out. We can, or we've tried, but we haven't got them to engage. We're engaging and having conversations. And in our conversations, we've identified a clear motivation and that they have the ability to buy and sell. And then for market qualified, it would then turn them into, an appointment, and then turn them into, actual, we're working together.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and so fast track, right? You got 5 DMs, 15 comments, 3 social media posts, 1 handwritten note, phone calls to your SOI, phone calls if you're doing leads to your lead database, right? The opportunities are out there for you.
Right.
Again, your job is to move people to getting to know you, to then getting to want to do business with you. And I love that you have that market qualified lead. I think that's key. And I think it's going to become even more important, especially if buyers are going to have to start thinking about the potential of having to pay for their representation, right? As agents, we now better be having conversations with their lenders. Hey, worst case scenario, if compensation is not being offered by the sellers, can the buyers cover it? Do they have down payment plus maybe appraisal money plus closing cost money plus my fee?
Right. Or what are all of our options? How do we structure it? Where does that fall? I mean, I think that's so important.
100%. I like this. I heard this the other day. The number one skill that agents are going to need to have moving forward is the skill of negotiation.
Right.
Because it's going to make or break deals in some cases. Could you, as a buyer's agent, roll out, on the listing side, we have home sold in 50, whatever, or guaranteed, or we'll buy it, or we'll list it for free, or whatever, marketing. On the buy side, could you do something like that? Guaranteed sellers pay my compensation, or
right.
Right. But yeah, I think, those are the exciting things. I think, the handwritten notes, completing that data of a client, right? Think about that. If, let's just say you have 1,000 contacts in your phone, obviously, them to some level that you saved their phone number, right? And put a name to it. Some people you may not even know who they are. But, how can I go through that list and get the rest of that data to where now I can start marketing to them in some capacity about what I do, the events that I'm having, the things that are going on in the marketplace, the updates of what's happening, with home values, all of those things, to where I can turn them into those engaged leads, which eventually will then turn into the face-to-face appointments. Yeah. And so I think those are the two things, right? And I think the handwritten notes are just powerful. I think a lot of people sleep on them. I know I do. I know I did, right? And I think they can have lasting impact, especially when you tie it into something that, I learned this from another coaching client of mine, using social media as a tool and not just something to consume your time. And the tool is, if someone's making a post about something in a public forum, it's probably somewhat important to that person. And there's a lot of opportunities for us as real estate agents to stay in the lives of our potential clients, past clients, to where we can take those things that they're talking about and we can turn it into a personal, intimate moment to connect with them.
Right.
That's a great time to send a handwritten note. If someone, celebrated their 25th wedding anniversary, or, little Johnny, just started his first day of kindergarten, or, right, the last kid graduated college and, just started their first career, job, or whatever the case may be. That is a great time to do a phone call, a direct reach out via text message, and or a nice handwritten note.
Yeah. I love it. It's good stuff, brother. Well, I think it's just narrowing down. And that's what I love about the fast track, right? Really narrow down the handful of things, not dilute focus, and then execute. And really the fast track is the execution piece. That is absolutely critical, man. It's the thing that I see most agents struggling with is what do I focus on? And what do I do? Just do this. Trust the process. Trust the process. Cool. Awesome, brother. Appreciate you. You guys have any questions, need anything, feel free to reach out, and we'll catch you guys next time. See ya.